Hello. Nice to see you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to ConfX. Thank you for the clicker. I just was concerned about that right now. I thought, oh, I might do it by telepathy. I'm Peter Regan, and as you've heard, I'm a data analytics and AI instructor at Multiverse. And as you've also just heard, I need to figure out what to do with these notes as well. I can't be holding them in front of my face. As you've also heard, I used to be something quite different. So I used to be a concert pianist. So my journey has a little, it's been a little bit unusual. So this means like there was a significant part of my life dedicated to playing piano and doing nothing else. About 16 years training, 10 years performing professionally. I know you can't believe it because I'm so young, but no, there was obviously an overlap in that period. That would be ridiculous. I didn't turn pro when I was 4. So you might think like, okay, well, why did you leave? And also, why are you telling us this now? I will get there, of course. Because it sounds kind of dreamy. I had an artistic life. I was immersed in beautiful music. You get to rehearse with friends, you travel for work, people clap their hands at you and smile, and they tell you that you're talented, whatever that might mean. And that was, sometimes true. But at the same time, I had other concerns. I was worried about, hey, why can't I join any of my peers in any of the wider societal things that they do at the same time? I'm never available with them. I'm always alone in a room with a big metal box making noise. It can be quite isolating. I'd also be worried about, I wonder how much money I'm going to make this year. Your guess would be as good as mine. No clue. Let's see what happens when we get to the end of the tax year and it's time to submit that return to HMRC. Both a blessing and a curse to have something to pay. And overall, I was worried about things like, okay, how can I sustain this? Will I be able to get a house? Probably not, no. What if I want to go on holidays? Well, you can't. And if you do, every day is like, oh my God, I should be practicing, oh my God. So as you can tell, I was kind of looking for the finer things handed to me on a plate. It's just like young people don't want to work anymore or something, oh my goodness. And that's why I decided, right, it's time to make a change. I need to make the change. And what enabled that change? Well, what enabled the change is really the purpose of what I'm here to talk to you about today. It was democratic access to tools and democratic access to learning. So when I decided, hey, it's time to get out of here, I did a software engineering boot camp like the whole world and his mother. I also did that after COVID, so I was very late to the bandwagon. That was a great example of terrible analytical thinking. But that's really what opened up my interest into Python, its application and analytics, and that's what led me to where I am today at Multiverse, and thank God for it. When I say it was democratic, it was fairly democratic. In the end, I did pay through the nose an obscene amount of money. If anyone is ever thinking of doing any kind of self-learning like that, it's all online for free. I know you know it, but in case you didn't, I did not, just giving you fair warning, bit of advice. So what was the point of all that? What's the point in talking about me, amn't I wonderful, here's what I did, why would you care? You don't know me. I'm going to leave today and you'll probably never think about me again. Well, I'm just one example of the effects of democratic access at an individual level. But I want to go on today to expand from democratizing access to tools at the individual level to what this could mean for your organization, the people in your organization, or, you can scale that back down with your own thinking, just thinking about yourself too. So my journey at the time might have been unusual. I would say now it's probably not that unusual at all. Maybe the exact subject area to subject area is unusual, but the idea of people transitioning into analytics and tech, I think is going to become a lot more normal. I think it's a lot more normal than it was already 5 years ago. And it's really, Not only because, but to a large extent, it's been accelerated now by the advent of ubiquitous, free-to-use LLMs. So the journey, or the into learning, or the barrier to entry into learning, is lower than it's ever been before. And AI is now integrated, as we know, into pretty much every digital product. How many times do we read AI powered every day? I know this is a business intelligence and analytics conference, so I'm going to be very pro AI and analytics, but at the same time, when I read that, I'm like, oh my God, another one, okay? So we've no excuse at this point not to be AI native. It's in fact a necessity. It doesn't matter whether you're in analytics, it doesn't matter if you're in BI, or even just any other tech adjacent role. Everyone needs to know this at this point because the cat's out of the bag, as we know. And you can also think to yourself there, oh, well now you know, there's no excuse for anything you've ever wanted to learn. We could blame it on other things before, but it really is on you now. So if you wanted to learn German and you haven't done it yet, not thinking of anyone in particular, it could be me, it's my own fault. But that, you know, the stick is also the carrot. You can use that as your motivation. So if we want to look at how access to AI then answers that original question I was setting up, we might want to look at the current state of play. So I think we're probably all well aware of this at this point. I know I'm a couple of minutes in and I already haven't reinvented the wheel or caused an earthquake. I'm sorry, I'll try my best. I'll jump up and down if I need to. But these statistics here, they come from a recent McKinsey report. I think they've called it super agency in the workplace, something like this. And they found among the companies they surveyed and those who responded, 80% of them are already using AI day to day or exploring its use. And 92% of all the companies surveyed plan to increase their AI investment. However, only 1% of those leaders said that their deployments of AI are mature. Most class themselves as nascent, or the stage that comes after nascent, between nascent and expanding, still not very developed. And fewer than 25% of AI initiatives deliver their expected ROI. And in fact, I think maybe even that's a bit generous. I'm sure we've all seen that headline floating around recently of the MIT study that said 95% of all AI initiatives fail. And it's like, oof, what have we been talking about in the news for the last 5 years? So we've all been investing in AI. We've all been dumping money in there, trying our best to make the ideas happen, trying to get something to work. Why is there such a huge gap between the investment and the rate of success? Well, there's loads of reasons. First and foremost, well, I would say first and foremost, of course I would. I'm a data instructor. Data quality and bias, even what we would consider really mature organizations, maybe not here in this room today, since I imagine we all come from a data focus or a BI focus. But in some of the biggest companies we know of in the UK, or multinationals based in the UK, you would be really surprised at the data culture and their general overall standard of data quality and bias. And I do see that firsthand every day. And it was even more of a shock to me coming from my artistic job into my real job. I remember thinking, oh, it's going to be great. People in the real world know how to do things. And then finding out, oh my goodness, we're all guessing. For training or implementing models, sometimes we've insufficient proprietary data, or sometimes the proprietary data is overly siloed. Lack of in-house expertise is a problem. I'll come back to that. I'm going to come back to a few. Poorly defined use cases, of course. So people building tools and then looking for the solution after. ROI not tracked clearly. Yes, this is very common, and I gotta say I'm guilty of this myself, because today I was thinking, I wonder if I can give any ROI in my own experience on AI tools I've used at work. And the answer is, actually I can't, because I haven't tracked them. So that is a problem. Oh, I've turned it off by mistake. Let's see if I can turn it back on. Magic. Compliance and security, of course, extremely difficult. Integration with legacy systems, we have too many too many sources for where we're storing our data, too many silos again there, and organizational resistance. And I skipped onto my jump scare a bit too soon. So I'm going to come back to this idea in a moment. But if we dig down, oh, I'm going to scare you again. If we dig down into all of these reasons, we actually are going to see that a lot of these reasons are people-centric and process-centric rather than technology-centric. So I have to admit, when Kalina and Manu got up there a couple of minutes ago, I thought, oh, damn, they're going to steal my thunder. They're talking about people and culture. This is the point. What am I going to say? But generally, we think of AI implementation as a technical problem. It's hard to get it to connect to all the legacy systems. It's hard to have everything organized in the right formats to make usable. But before we get to that point, we want to discover, well, what are the reasons that is the case? So if we look at data quality and bias, for example, that stems from not really having a great or very effective data-first culture. It might be in your company's mission statement to have it, or in all of the internal frameworks that it should be practiced. Does that mean it's actually happening at the foundational level? Integration with the legacy systems. So that is partly a technical issue. But the other thing that causes issues and data silos is traditionally, technical tools are not equally distributed among an organization. And of course, there's reasons for that. We can't just give everyone the magic wand. But that creates internal resistance between teams when people are protective over the data they own. When you have a headache, you're looking for, can I get this data off of you? And it takes 10 days to get the thing you asked for, and you're like, oh my goodness. And I'm not talking about the processed end result, I'm just talking about like raw information, can we see? And all of that contributes to organizational resistance. And this relates back to what we were talking about a few moments ago as well. Some people are afraid of AI. Is it going to automate my job? Or what happens when we try to launch a solution, our community has not been properly trained how to use it, and the result is we don't trust the output. And this hinders adoption massively. So enablement is very important, and these are things we can look at before we ever think about the technical issues, and which will make the technical issues, I would certainly hope, a lot easier. So jump scare for the third time, not quite as effective anymore. If we take that line of thinking, we could say technology is not the barrier to scale here, it's people. It's people not having the skills and the access they need. And what is the end result of that? Or what is the cumulative effect of the mix of these technical reasons and these people and cultural reasons? So a study by Open Datasoft claims that 55% of companies lack unified access to their data. That's another number I'd say is actually pretty generous. Now, I can't say with certainty as well, because I'm doing the terrible, terrible, terrible data analyst practice of using my anecdotal experience. But I would surely suspect it's a lot higher than 55%. That seems like, I was impressed. I was like, gee, if 55% of companies have truly unified access to their data, I would be amazed. We would be in the future. And even though in the same study, data leaders, 60% of them said sharing of data and to create data unity among the company is the top priority, only about a quarter of the business users were feeling the effects of that. So we all have these dreams. The new dream, it's relatively new, it's not that new, but our new dream is one centralized source of truth. I mean, that's the old dream. But in the new close, it's one centralized source of truth where all the storage, all the processing, all the AI models live in one place, drag and drop, plug and play, click on what I want, get it out in an instant, right back in one go. That's what we're all dreaming of. And there are products out there that are moving us in the direction, but organizations are not ready to put that material into the products yet. So we're dreaming of these skyscrapers in my lovely AI-generated image, but we've got a swamp, and you cannot build a skyscraper in a swamp. So how are we going to clean it up? How do we clean up the mess? Well, it's as simple as what I'm about to say to you. It is simple, but it's difficult. And that's only true if you think I'm correct, so feel free to disagree. This is where we need to define what does democratization mean in practice, and relating back to the subject of the presentation, how does the citizen data scientist play a role? So, democratization. Let's go. We're nearly there, guys, don't worry. We're getting to like the point now, I would say. It's kind of I don't want to call it a buzzword. It's definitely a serious word, but it's a word that has been abused and maybe has been treated like a buzzword, like banny words in the field now. If we think of the term data analyst, data engineer, AI, what does AI mean? So for the purposes of the conversation, I'm going to limit it slightly. I didn't limit it myself because I can't claim to be that intelligent, but I'm going to use the work of Elizabeth Seeger, who's an Oxford researcher on governance in AI. And she has a few different definitions for different types of democratization. I'm going to focus on three: democratization of use, democratization of development, and democratization of governance. Democratization of use, that's the easy idea. That's the simple idea where we say, yeah, give everyone the tools. Give a wide base of users access to whatever AI tools you're licensed to use in your organization. That is your logistics people, your R&D people, marketing people, finance people, legal, HR. Make sure that everyone who's interested is able to use something. Even if they don't have the keys to the whole house, give them the keys to the utility so they can wash their clothes. The next level up from there is democratization of development, giving these users not only the access to the tool, but permission to develop their own small-scale AI solutions to the problems that are closest to them. So this may not become a company-wide solution, but when you give certain users permission to create solutions to problems that are close to them, you then have the potential later on to market that or marketplace that to the rest of your organization. And then governance, I've put it third here. I feel like really we should be, governance and use should be overlapping. But that's when we consider, the ethical implications of use and how it can affect both your community and the individuals in the community. So the order of these is critical. For business, the obvious first stage is use. And the reason I say put use first is because we can't govern what we don't use. So if you start building governance in a vacuum, it's going to be a bit of resource, it's going to be a lot of thinking and planning, may not actually ever have any effect or real-life application. I also don't want to say, wait till you're done with use before you start governing. The two need to go together because you're going to run into problems from day one as you go. And we can't develop what we don't understand. So the order of these things is critical. Right, great, isn't that wonderful? Get them using tools first and govern after. Thanks, Peter, you've solved all our problems. We have democratized access to AI. Not quite. So how do the citizen data scientists play a role? How do they come into use? And what is a citizen data scientist? So speaking of those abused terms, data analyst, data engineer, AI, data scientist is one as well. And because, as I was saying before, we live now in this time when you must be AI native, when even if you're not in a tech or analytics role, you are going to come into contact with data all the time. Who doesn't look at a spreadsheet? Who doesn't look at reports, dashboards, etc. So everyone needs to have some level of data literacy, some level of understanding. So your citizen data scientist, they're non-specialists, They're everyone you have in your organization already, but they're people who interact with data and have an enthusiasm for it and a special interest for it. They are also the people who understand your business context best because they deal with it every single day. They know why the data is important and what it's important for. How do we help them then make sure that when we give them use of data tools or AI tools, when we democratize that access, how do we make sure, oh, it's going to work, it's going to have some kind of business impact? Well, this is actually the boring bit. And if you thought the boring bit was before, I'm so sorry. But we get more exciting, I hope, I would say. If we want to make this effective, the boring work has to come first. That skyscraper dream we had of unified access does not happen unless everyone at a ground level has foundational, basic data literacy. And I'm talking really foundational, really basic, and really boring. It's what companies want to skip. It's what people want to skip. It's the type of thing I train people in every week, and everyone thinks they know it already, and they're extremely bored by me telling them this is what a good spreadsheet looks like. But even those people with so much experience and think they know it already don't have it formalized yet, and the results compound over time. So what you need is a framework for how you develop data literacy in your organization. These are not all of the pillars of good data culture or good data literacy, but I think they're probably the most important ones. Data stewardship, knowing what quality data is, and knowing how to accommodate that within governance and legislation. Effective visualization, an understanding of statistics. You don't need to be a statistician, but for your citizen data scientist who not necessarily has done any statistics before, if they're going to start using analytics tools and giving you outputs from that, they should have the rigor to be able to test what they're telling you. And once those things are in place, that's when we can offer no-code or low-code tools. What are the benefits of low-code tools? They lower the barrier to entry to giving you, if you're a business leader, the output you're looking for, and it allows them to manipulate the data without having that fear of, like, I'm not a programmer. It also allows people to create products that are self-service. So this is what gets rid of your siloed access problem. They're not waiting for other people to do work for them anymore. They are now able to do work themselves. And at this point, I don't think any of us can afford to be waiting for someone else to do the work. This is also kind of what encourages organizational friction, tension between teams. And this is also, I think, one of the positive abuses of data career terms, because now we expect data analysts to do some form of engineering and pipelining sometimes. We expect engineers to have some interaction with analysis. We expect everyone to be able to do some kind of building. And if they've been given that framework to build responsibly and understand what good data culture, good data management looks like, that is how you're going to mitigate damage. So I feel like we can't afford not to take the gamble, because what's happening in the couple of days between the request from, I don't know, marketing to IT when they're trying to get access to whatever it is, what's happening in that time? Sure, they've got other things to work on, but, you know, again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. The time is money. And we get some transformative results out of that. I argue. Of course I would argue that, because I work in apprenticeships and I train people and I tell them, this is what you should be doing. Document your results for me. So I'm not just going to say, oh, it's really good, you should try it. We have some real life examples. So I've taken some kind of famous examples, and then I'm going to take some UK specific examples. If we think of Mueve, they established a citizen builder program, which is not the same as a citizen data scientist program, but kind of synonymous. And they empowered 50 employees to use Power Automate to build solutions to the problems that were closest to them. And in that first iteration of the program, they managed to save €500,000. So that's not bad, €500,000 from 50 people. This can scale to the biggest of companies. Shell, they've done a similar scheme. They implemented a formal framework for what does it mean to be a responsible builder, what does it mean to have responsible access to AI tools. And I think 4,000 employees were enrolled in this formal program. And they saved millions of dollars across all functions. I said greater than $10 million here, because I actually don't know how much money they saved, but I know it was reported that in their finance function alone, they saved 10 million from non-developer employees using Power Automate. And if you have experience with Power Automate yourself, you know it's not that difficult. And if it is a little bit difficult for you, it's not that difficult to learn. And I'm going to take some NHS examples because this is my favorite. I love NHS examples because I think the NHS is one of the best examples that we are familiar with of a company that really struggles with that silo data problem, really struggles with lack of access between teams. And they are undergoing a massive transformation project at the moment. They are partnered with Multiverse. They're also partnered with other organizations like Palantir. And just some examples from them. NHS Berkshire, just one trust. They used to do referrals manually. Now they have, I think I'm mixing up my tools. I can't remember if it was Power Automate or an RPA system from Blue Prism. But either way, their manual referral process is now automated and they've saved 226 days of staff time per year. Lewisham and Greenwich, they used to do manual pharmacy invoices, used to take an hour per invoice. That has now been automated with Power Automate. They've saved 40,000 per year. And the North London IBC, the North London IBC, which has 10 NHS trusts, they copied Berkshire's solution and they've saved 20,000 staff hours. They got that back. And what enabled the copying as well was this amazing thing that NHS have partnered on with Palantir. Palantir have built a centralized data model for the NHS on Foundry. They call it the Federated Data Platform. And non-data workers are responsible for these solutions. It's nurses, doctors, clinicians, admin staff who are sick to death of literally planning theatre capacity on pen and paper. That's true, across many trusts. They design these solutions themselves, no code, using Palantir, and once they've made it, if they can prove the concept is successful, they can marketplace it to every other trust in the country. So the compounding effect of having the no-code solution that they can share with the whole organization is absolutely massive. So they're always a great story to tell. What does it all mean? Why? Why is it important? Why should I tell you this? Why should you listen? I hope you're definitely listening. Oh my goodness. What I want to say is, we think of AI as this big, bad technical problem, hard to solve, don't know how to do it, it's got to be massive, I need the most complicated data lakes, data warehouses, integrations with all my existing sources to solve all my problems. Okay, maybe we do need that later on down the line, but actually, a lot of the solution to implementing successful AI tools is already in your organization. The people are already there. It's the people who know your business context better than any external expert. And they don't have to solve the whole problem. They can just start small. Things that go wrong for them that take 40 minutes a day instead of 10. If everyone is able to fix a problem like that, I mean, the coins are raining down. You'll have to take cover, get your umbrella out. So, if any of that was interesting to you and you're thinking, yeah, but real life, come on, how do I actually do that in my organization? Shift your mindset first. Before you think about your tech, you need to transform your people first. If you're going to transform your people, you need to find who are the most enthusiastic. McKinsey's report says it's millennial managers. So if any of you are millennial managers or you work with them yourself or you're a leader and you have that group, okay, I can't say it's the real truth, but McKinsey says it's the truth. Get on them. They're the group in the workforce at the moment who are most interested in AI. They're going to be the people to encourage others to adopt. And you also need to adopt the attitude and promote the culture with them that you're not using AI to automate them out of a job. You're using AI to augment what they can do so that everyone can focus on higher level tasks. And last but not least, I would say, embrace the boring stuff first. So boring, but make sure people know what good data is, good management is. Don't have people with 7 versions of the spreadsheet and everyone works off the most up-to-date copy. That is one of the most common data strategies I see, and it's one of the most irritating and inefficient data strategies I see. And I'm not a technical specialist. I'm not like a data science genius. You saw my career journey there. You know what boot camps are like. But even I can see, when I see that working with every different company I work with, I'm like, my goodness, you're losing hours a day just trying to find the right spreadsheet. Key takeaways. I hope you remember, what I think at least, is that the real barriers to adoption are human and cultural. Citizen data scientists harnessing low-code tools, that's your first low-hanging fruit, easy win. And if you want to limit the damage that can happen with that, or you want to be able to plan, document, and share among your organization the success of that, you really should give them a structured framework for success. You don't just hand them the tool and say, run free, my children. You say, here's your new toy, but you have to be good, and here are the rules. So, thank you very much for listening, if you've made it this far. And even if you haven't, it's over. So yeah, thank you very much. If there's time for questions, I don't know if there is or not because I have not been looking at the clock. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Maybe I'll get them wrong, but I'll do my best. And I'll stop talking now because otherwise you won't get to ask your question. Yes.
The concept of citizen data scientists, it sounds interesting. Just my concern is how patient is the company for people who don't have the expertise to learn the tools and use that to deliver something of value for the organization. And I think this is one of the reasons why companies tend to hire experts, right? People who've done it, who have experience in certain things so that they can just hit the ground running. So tell me from your experience, how does that work?
This is such a good question. So the first part of that, I'd say, demonstrates the culture problem. If companies are not going to give people the time and space to learn the skills that the company says they need, then there's a serious misalignment between what the company says it values and how it expects the community to actually achieve that. So when you say, okay, well, how does it work in a company where they don't have the patience? I would say it doesn't work in a company where they don't have the patience, and it depends from company to company whether they're willing to allow that. Here, I'm going to be a bit naughty and plug Multiverse, because this is actually a great way to accommodate that kind of patience. What makes having the patience difficult is it's easy to say you should have a structured framework. But if you want to have a structured framework, you have to plan it, you have to design it, you have to validate it. Who's going to do that? It takes forever, it's going to be expensive. What if it's wrong? If you're in a company and they're interested in doing that kind of development, think about doing apprenticeships. Because if your company's paying into the apprenticeship levy, it's free to train the people who are in suitable roles to be trained and who want to be trained. And that's a way of still having those resources on the day job, and it might not be as quick as getting an expert in, but you keep them in the position long term, you allow them to develop the skills, that encourages retention. You mightn't get the initial results you want as quick as you want, but it compounds over time. Because you've made that investment in them, even though it's free, but you're investing space and time in them to allow them to learn, they feel rewarded. if they're able to deliver amazing business value out of that as well, they have further reason to stay because they're more likely to get promoted within the company. Yeah, so I'd say if the company doesn't give you the patience, well, it's not going to work. That's just my opinion. And what's this about enterprise companies? Can I see it in a startup? Well, I'm being really annoying. I'm like, how long is a piece of string? It depends. What are startups famous for? No time, crack the whip, work from 8 till midnight. Yeah. In that case, I don't know. It depends on your founder. Like, is your founder willing to say to you, fine, you can have this amount of time per day to learn the tool because I need you to be successful at that tool to develop the solution. Is that a nice way to learn for learning's sake? No, but we are all adults and we can decide what we want to sacrifice for learning or business impact. That really comes down to a bit more individual responsibility with sponsorship from your leaders. If you're in a big company, I think it is easier because they have the resource to sponsor structured frameworks. Any others? I'm going to do an apprenticeship trick and count down in my head for a couple of seconds. And if there's no questions, you're free, but I saw a hand emerge. Go for it. That cannot be replaced by AI. I don't know if my answer is actually specific to data analysts, but I think it could be specific to people, is just your ability to interact with other people, have them like you, communicate the insight clearly. Like, my job, for example, is a job that could easily be performed by AI, right? Why do we need me? AI can teach you everything now. But the reason Multiverse keeps people like me on is because apprentices like to learn from a person and they trust the person more than when they get the AI output, which they know is likely correct. But they always have that little doubt, like, what if it's hallucinating a little bit? I want a bit of reassurance. Maybe that can be replaced by AI. At the moment, I can't really see it, or I can't be convinced. The other thing I think is maybe AI will catch up with us eventually, but even with the most advanced tools that I've seen, not even used myself, like yesterday I actually was at Palantir with the engineers demonstrating their newest, fanciest tools to me. And in the back of my head, I was thinking, this is so cool, but we're still answering the exact same problems every time. And this only works if the tool understands the context really well. So I think contextual understanding and interpersonal communication is my answer. And if it's right or wrong, I'm sorry. It's just what I think. Oh, well, thank you. I'm flattered. Okay, I'll do one more countdown, and then if there's no questions, you're free for now. Go for it.
Hi. Big fan of all the data citizenship thing. I myself will talk after you. I'm the next speaker. So I myself have to thank people like you and people who have developed open source things and taught through videos or in person. So I just wanted to thank you for this work, and it makes a huge difference to be taught by a person than a large language model. But I will show that I'm a big fan of large language models as well. So just thank you for being an enthusiastic teacher.
Thank you. I should stay up here longer, hear nice things. I'm just wary of time. Do you need me to? Right, I'm getting the nod. So thank you so much for your attention. Have a great rest of the day. I can't stay for the rest of the day because I have to go off-site, but I'm going to stay as long as I can and hopefully be back tomorrow So if you want to talk, come say hello. And if you don't, don't.